When we speak about highest contribution, it's simultaneously who you're being and what it is that you're doing. Like when we speak about mission and purpose and highest contribution or the divine service, there can be so much of a focus on doing. What's your career path? How is it that you're volunteering? What is it that you're helping other individuals with? And so we really want to highlight your highest contribution can be who you're being. And one of the greatest gifts that you can give to yourself and to the elevation and consciousness and to the Earth Star and beyond is your own inner work. It makes all the difference. We really want to highlight your being state as well as your doing state, and that you can be being your highest contribution, whether you're at work or you're in what you might call your personal life. And it is such a time of vibrational leadership, energetic leadership. And so mastering your energy can be such a key aspect to your highest contribution.
Welcome to another Quantum Conversation. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome, everyone. We are talking about interdimensional beings and how we can partner with them to receive guidance to make this planet a better place. Not only to make the planet a better place, but to live our divine mission, a legacy, the reason we incarnated in this lifetime. My guest today is Danielle Rama Hoffman. She is an incredible spiritual teacher who's been channeling ascended masters, primarily Thoth, Isis, the Magdalenes, and she's here to help us decode our divine plan. Hi, Danielle. I'm so happy to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Loren. Hi, everyone. So delighted to be here.
Now, when we're talking interdimensional beings, you've been working with these beings for so long. And in fact, that's how I met you. I was in a bookstore and your book, Council of Light, literally jumped off the shelf at me, and it was on the bottom shelf, but it was
Wow.
just glowing. It had this aura about it. And that, I would say, was interdimensional beings talking through that book. Would you say so?
Absolutely. And I've heard others share a similar story that channeled teaching or the book like it's just imbued or encoded, like it's its own being of light, and that there's so many ways that signs and energies connect to us. So I also would say that the interdimensional beings of light and communication happen like that in our everyday lives. And so excited that you paid attention and picked it up, and here we are.
Yes, I almost, man, 15 years later almost. So yeah, cool. 12, something like that. Well, so we know that people are really interested in working to make their lives better, and we're seeing a great awakening. Would you say, how would you rate the awakening right now on this planet? That's a really great question to start with.
Yeah, that is a really great question to start with. I would say that in some ways the awakening has already happened. And so it's more what I would be rating of our awareness of it, our embodiment of it. And, to me, it does feel like it's fluid, that sometimes we may be very conscious of new earth, of the new paradigm, of new awakening, of living as our divine selves. And so that may be in the 90%. And other times we might flip into duality and lose that awareness where it's 10, 15. So to me, I would rate it as 100, like it's happened, and yet our awareness of it or our connection to it or our capacity to apply it and embody it is it's kind of like a moment to moment thing. I don't know if that's how you would describe it as well, or you experience it, but that's what's coming to me to share.
Thank you for that. That feels so true and accurate. And so when someone awakens, it's a great heart opening, right? And so, how would we make this connection to the interdimensional beings? Can you give us like a timeline or a pathway that people would have when they begin to awaken? I mean, this may seem a little bit elementary, but in your own life, you then came into channeling interdimensional beings, ascended masters, guides, star beings. And so, what is the journey then on the awakening path as we get to interdimensional beings?
Hmm. Well, I would talk about it in terms of like vibrational proximity, that there are different bands of consciousness or frequencies or vibrations, and that our earth walk or our lifespans, including past lives, bring us into proximity to those higher vibrations. And so it can look very unique to each individual, and that same thing that I shared in the beginning, where it can be uh, kind of pinched off or full on. So for me personally, I came into this lifetime very sensitive, empathic, could sense what individuals were broadcasting that was different than what they were saying at a very early age. And, and so it kind of just was like that, but I didn't understand it. It was, I didn't have the context for it, or it was kind of energy was awakening, but I didn't really consciously understand it. But even my life path was, I feel like I set it up before this lifetime to, meet mentors and teachers that really accelerated and helped me along the way. So, I know I hear others and clients still saying like, "Oh, I just began my awakening path a year or so ago," and it can be really fast for them. Uh, and others, like, you talked about 12 years. We've been on it consciously for decades, lifetimes. Uh, and yeah, so sometimes I do feel like when the awakening happens really quickly, like how I experienced it, it did feel like it was pretty fast. Then it can take a little while to unpack or unload or decode, as we're talking about decoding. So, yeah. And that we do have those past life experiences. Because even when somebody says, "Oh, I'm just a beginner, I'm just starting off," I don't really usually find that to be true.
Yeah, there's this amnesia, right? That we come in with, and when we begin to awaken, wow, we start to remember those things. So thank you for being a beautiful mentor for light workers. You really are a top echelon leader for those who are on this path. And so as we talk about decoding your divine design type and unlocking our highest contribution, how does partnering with interdimensional beings, ascended masters, angels, guides, how does that allow us to progress on our earthly journey?
Hmm. Yeah, well, the Decode Your Divine Design is based on a divine numerology that I brought in partnership with Thoth, with Thoth, um, the Egyptian god of infinite knowledge or keeper of the Akashic records, and it's really based on it, and especially the first, 1 through 9, our divine numerology based on our birth chart, and that the different numbers of the divine design type really assist us to unlock our unique ascended masteries or our unique gifts. And the type speaks to, like, if we were an ascended master, what kind of ascended master would we be? And, one of the things that really stood out to me the most when I first connected to guides consciously in this incarnation, and like I was an atheist at one point, right? Like totally pinching off and shutting it down, and then had my own awakening journey, that getting to know the divine in the Egyptian pantheon or the ascended masteries, like there's archetypes. We get to know Isis and love, or Thoth, Toth, and knowledge, or the Hathors in terms of dance and pleasure, and like digestible bite-sized pieces. And we can see that in our own architecture, that we often have affinity to certain guides because it's something that we're already carrying, or something that we're wanting more of. And when we tap into our divine design type, it is like you know, what kind of ascended master are we? What kind of ascended master would we be? And often there are those affinities, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if you also have a connection in your ascended mastery to a lot of the love energies, and also wisdom, like as we're connecting to this heart wisdom.
Wonderful. All right. And so, can you give us a little overview? I know we're going to talk about ways that people can go really deep into this. There's a special program that's going to be offered by you, but can you give us an overview of what that is? So, numerology wise, this is what our wiring is, our
Mhm.
coding is. And so, what works for one is going to be completely different for another. And that's really important to take into consideration, isn't it? I mean, it's
Mhm.
not just consideration, but embodiment, because we can't. I mean, I know what my soul path number is, and I cannot do certain things or jobs because I need to be more free based on those numbers. Can you share with us a little bit about that numerology that you brought forth?
Yeah, and that's such a important thing to underscore, because in the old paradigm there is that, like, trying to fit in, or trying to play by somebody else's rules, or looking around and modeling what works for somebody else. And especially in the new paradigm, the difference of us is what really matters. So, uh, what if you just pick a number 1 through 9, or maybe it is your number, and then I can just kind of give an example of one of them.
All right, let's go with one. Let's start with great number one.
Yeah. So number one is all about being a visionary, coming from the heart space, and that really being a sovereignty ascended master, or really being a creator ascended master. And that with the number one, you really have a lot of relationship ascended masteries. Now, of course, when we have a gift in something, or it's something that we're growing into or remembering in our incarnation, sometimes we can experience the absence of it. So sometimes with somebody that has number one, and the guides and I are sharing, you have relationship ascended masteries, and they go, wow, I've had such a hard time with relationships. So it is also about getting to the gift side rather than being on the challenging side. And so with number one, you're really a stand for sovereignty, equality, empowerment. Uh, you have an uncanny capacity to hold paradigm shifting perspectives. You can be astute at relationships, like also based on spiritual and emotional maturity. So sometimes with the number one divine design type, you may find yourself in like multi-dimensional relationships where you can be friends with someone, you may be somebody's client, they may be your coach, like that, which could seem a little bit messy if you didn't have such adeptness with the spiritual and emotional maturity. And then with each of them, there is like a top illusion lie, or like a pitfall. And so with the number one, there can be the I need to defer or control. And so that comes from survival consciousness and the outdated paradigm where there can be this power over, power under dynamic, and that may lead to deferring key decisions. And I also see this, and it's a really important point with this topic of interdimensional guidance and connecting to guides, that sometimes when somebody's first partnering with the guides, there may be that sense of the guides know more than us or giving away the power. And really, the way that I find that it works better is when we come into that partnership from a place of equality and not deferring or being powerless. So usually, with the number one, you may be pretending to be the most powerless individual when you're really the most powerful individual in the room. Um, and then there can be that swinging of like micromanaging or just giving it all over. And the spiritual truth that really shifts that is coming from equanimity, equality, being a creator being, and knowing that everyone else is a creator being as well. So if you have number one, it is really important to partner with others, to co-create with others, to be in relationship with others, and to remember, and this was something that was really, interesting for me in my journey, to remember relationships are with other bipedals or humans, but also with guides and crystals and nature and star beings, that there's all kinds of different relationships than the ones that we're conditioned to access. So that was a lot, but number one is really about having adeptness in relationships and co-creating from that place of equality.
Wow. Okay, really good. How would people know what number they are?
Yeah, so we have this really easy to use app that you can enter in your birth date and then find out what number you are. So the divine design type, and in our program it does include all aspects of the divine design chart, and yet the divine design type is a culmination of the full birth date and the birth time. Um, and I know sometimes folks are like, I don't know when I was born, and yet you can also intuit or know that when you say, okay, I'm going to say it's 1111 because that's a number that resonates, uh, that would be the perfect message as well. Yeah.
And so it's important to know this so that we can know the steps to take. Like you just described number one. And if my soul path is number one, is that likely that I'm a one in the divine design type?
Yeah,
Or
and so soul is that, yeah, like you have one for sure strongly in your chart. Um and that's what you do, right? You partner with others, your relation like
and what you shared there about that one, and even the pitfalls, it's like, wow, that's spot on. So if that resonates, okay, all right, that's really good. And so what is your divine design type? And share with us the number of your divine design.
yeah, so my divine design type, and the divine design type is also again like the position in the chart. It has to do what we're here to master as well in this lifetime. So it can be earlier in our life, something that may have been a challenge that then goes into really a gift. So mine is a three in this position of my chart. And it's really about being a higher perspective, ascended master, with support and having super conscious ascended masteries. So when you have three, and like even if somebody doesn't know their number, you can also just add up your month and your birth date, like just to be kind of getting some kind of number. But with somebody that has number three, or for myself as well, you see the bigger picture and hold a high standard, and you can be sought after for your like both strategic and high vibe support. And that you frequently source your power from super conscious states. So that can give you unparalleled boosts of energy and buoy you beyond the mental, physical, and emotional limitations. And the pitfall with number three is getting distracted, and I experience this a lot, especially earlier on in life, by those slower body, mind, emotion kind of friction or survival patterns. So there might be the fear of doing it wrong, or the fear of being seen, or that there could be like a body crash after expansion, and then that 3D identity just becomes a distraction. And then the spiritual truth is really coming from support and surplus, and that also our challenges, our body, mind, emotions, lower vibrations become rocket fuel, and free up a lot of surplus of energy when they're included into our higher self. So really viewing those challenges, mistakes, as momentum creating experiences, and then continuing to really come from that heightened state of passion and vitality and nourishment. So yeah, that really speaks to like me being a higher perspective ascended master, and connecting to source, connecting to the guides, to be multidimensional, to assist others in being multidimensional, so that we're not experiencing ourselves as that limited identity of body, mind, emotion, distorted views.
I love it. It's much more expansive than our traditional numerology of 1 through 9. And so, would you say that the human trajectory, regardless of what number we're at, I mean, I know that there's identifiers that kind of tell us the path and how that goes, but we're all destined to be ascended masters and to work on this mastery level. So, how does then someone knowing this divine design type, decoding that, how does that help them expand into their journey and bring forward what they're here to do?
Yeah, well, I feel like you voiced it really beautifully in the beginning. Like, you need freedom as a part of your path, and when we can build our life around our unique divine design type, then we're basing it on what comes natural to us, our strengths, and then things flow a lot more easily. And I absolutely 100% agree with you that this path in on the Earth Star is about us embodying our divine self, or becoming more of our ascended master self, like becoming ascended masters who walk among, and hanging out with the guides, connecting to the guides, relating to ourself as well from that higher perspective, can be ways that accelerate that process. And so even if it's as simple as connecting to a divine quality like truth or love or wisdom, joy, that those divine qualities also support us in accessing our ascended master self. And it's a choice. It's like a choice that we make in every now moment. Like, we can either be orienting from our human self or the survival consciousness self, or we can choose to come from that divine self. And I know sometimes when I say things like that, or the guide says things like that, people go into like, how do I do that? How do I do that? And it's unique to each of us, but I do know that in any now moment, each of us can tell, like, if we're coming from that limited perspective, or if we're coming from the higher perspective. And it's natural. We'll continue to to be coming from both of those sides as we're coming into greater states of consciousness. So I think that's also important to say, like even on our path of awakening, we may have moments of doubt or lack or scarcity or those slower vibrations. And yet we're coming from a larger ocean of love and higher perspective. So they don't distract us as much as they might have in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, we're given the tools and on the journey of awakening, even I mean, it seems like right now with the energies on the planet, it's a little intense. You know, it's almost like a get real moment where things just keep coming up. And how would you categorize this? Would it be the old is falling away and we're trying to cling to it, or we simply need to shift into a new focus, a focus of the higher realms, the incredible support that we have, the embodiment of our soul. Why do you think people are finding it so intense in these energies right now?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk when we talk about awakening of ascension, and so that like moving from a slower vibration into a higher vibration, and that the guides often talk about that it really is this ascension descension spiral, that we do different things to assist our physical body to be moving at a higher vibration. And so to me, the intensity is can also be that friction, especially for light workers who've done a lot in the higher planes, and yet there's not the embodiment of that or the application of the spiritual truths or the experience of them, that sometimes it is about focusing more on embodiment and that descension body, like a descension spiral, really becoming it and being it. So I do feel like that's part of the intensity and the friction, especially when we know that abundance is a birthright and we're not seeing abundance as a birthright, right? For individuals or ourselves. And that separation, that dis the disparity between the two can create that friction. So uh the other aspect why I think it's so intense is when we are in an awakened state and then we go back into a slower vibration, it can feel so much more like off than it did before we had those moments. So I think, the guides often talk about how it's important to recognize that slower vibrations they're par for the course, and they're going to come up, especially when you have accelerated leaps in light or leaps in consciousness. Just like the pond turns over, like the muck is at the bottom, and then it comes to the surface as it's cleaning itself. That to not take that as an indication of being on not being on the right path. And then it's a time, and I know that each of us and those of you tuning in are strong, like to stay the course, because sometimes we can just be so close to everything that's been happening underneath the ground, like that blossom coming up, but then we dig it up and start all over again. So I do feel like it's really important to continue to stay the course and and to be gentle and to address the physical and the energetic. Like sometimes there may be a tendency to be more in on one than the other. Yeah, awakening is that union.
That's a relief. That's a relief because we hear at times from folks who are like, why am I not attached to my guides? Or where did my guides go? I don't hear them. I don't feel them anymore. Or the frustration in the 3D can totally be a distraction. So it's really comforting to know that we're close, but it's almost like a rubber band. We're being snapped back into the depths of the muck, but we
Mm.
can easily pull ourselves out of it, right? Just by that frequency shift. What do you do if you ever have those episodes? Or should I say, do you still have episodes like that where it's a 3D get real moment that kind of takes you away from this higher vibration?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I do feel like our daily lives is our 24/7 playground for our advanced spiritual evolution and consciousness. And so for me, like all of us, probably, when I go into a slower vibration, sometimes I just forget that amnesia that you talk about. Like I forget that it's the guides are only a breath away, that I can call them in and channel them, or um, so that awareness of like, oh, I've left my connection can be just so important. And that's where I do feel like knowing our territory so well, those pitfalls and what are going to be the things that we use to separate from source. Uh, and so that can help as well. Like I can kind of know that this certain thing when it happens is going to be my favorite familiar body, mind, emotion, slower vibrational thing. And so that can also help for each of us. And then when I do have the awareness, I love the Magdalene card deck that the guides have brought forward, and I'll pull a card, like I just pulled one now, the Magdalene heart, uh, circulate abundance. Your heart is adept at circulating abundance, gift pool, and receive wealth with confidence at a higher octave. So that can be a little bit of a pattern interrupt. I live in nature, so I go out in nature. Um, and to just be gentle. Like just if we're potty training a puppy that goes off the paper, just we bring ourselves back to the paper with that gentle discipline.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Again, it's comforting. And wow, I love that you said the guides are only a breath away. Yes, that is so important to remember so that in any hectic moment, we can simply breathe and feel it. So you're a channel. And so let's give you a moment to bring in guides. I don't know if it'll be Thoth, Toth, or Isis, or the Magdalens. I don't know, whoever, the Council of Light. And let's center this around advice or medicine for each of us to step into our highest contribution. This is the need of the hour, I'm sensing. And I'm sensing that people who've been doing the work, whether they're new at this or not, or just beginning, everyone is feeling something, some need to contribute from a higher frequency. So that would be wonderful, Danielle.
Yes, absolutely. So as I'm tuning in to the council that wants to step forward, just inviting each of you, to connect to your own signature energy, that which makes you unique, and amplifying that desire that you have, the deepest desire of your soul, of your knowing, that's to be of contribution, that also can focus what the guides are bringing in here. Hello, dear ones. This is Toth with an expanded Council of Light and Council of Love, moving more into the forefront of this divine transmission. We are delighted to be here with you, and what we are noticing in the group field as we begin is that some of you, and we'll share a little bit of a spot reading in the group, some of you have been very developed in your spiritual path, your spiritual practice. You've been at it for a lot of now moments, and there's a sensing of almost like requiring a different energy or a different ingredient. When you master something, you embody it. When you have been steeping in something for a long time, because when we speak about ascended masters and ascended masteries, ascended masters have multiple ascended masteries. That me, Toth, having ascended masteries in scribing and communication and astrology and healing, and there's multiple ascended masteries. So, especially for those of you who have ascended masteries in energy, in light, in intuition, and you've really dedicated and devoted a lot of your now moments, your lifetimes, your lifespans, you may be craving almost, and we use this word craving, something different, or recognizing that there's more to be garnered by planting a garden or than doing another shamanic drumming ceremony. And we're not saying an either or, yet a desire to include a different ingredient. And so rather than this feeling like oh, am I no longer going to continue on my path of service in the way that I have, we would just see it as an adding to it. Because sometimes there can be too much of an extreme where it can almost feel like, oh, I've got to subtract this thing or I've outgrown this thing. Really, you've embodied it, and now you're called to add in a different ingredient that may be more matter based, more physical plane based. So that's the first thing that we want to share on in the group field. The second thing that we're noticing in the group field is like a Danielle went to college in St. Louis, and there are different kind of sayings for each state. And St. Louis is the show me state, the show me state. So when we tune into the group field, some of you are frustrated with the spiritual concepts or with what you've been doing, and there's this like show me that this is going to work, like the show me state. And we know that this can be also tied up in did I get this? Did I get it right? Like, did I do my manifestation practice right? Or uh, the sense of there's a right and a wrong. Like if you did it right, then you would be shown. If you did it wrong, then you wouldn't. And so the first thing to give some relief, because it does seem like a tire that has too much air in it. And maybe you've had one of those little gizmos that you can let out a little bit of air. Just bring in some breaths, bring in some grace, and let out some of that air of frustration. Let out some of that, like, I must have done something wrong. So some of you can be quick to go like, I did something wrong. And others of you may have a pattern of, I can't depend on God, Great Spirit, Source, all that there is. Like it's somebody else's fault in that power over, power under kind of a way. And what we're wanting to share here is that the show me it it it's not a one size fits all. Like it's multi-dimensional because sometimes you have experienced great growth from not physicalizing something, from not having something actualize or be shown to you. Each of you have an example of this that like for Danielle, before she met her beloved partner, Friedemann, in this lifetime, she really desired to have a partner. And she would be with this individual, and then it didn't work out. And then there'd be the frustration of like, show me, and then the next individual. And it kind of was going like that for a while. And then she just gave up, and the attachment wasn't there. And she was just like, okay, it's me and the divine, and I'm not going to have another relationship that's not adding to my life. And that moment, not instantaneously yet in that phase, is when she met her life partner, Friedemann. So that's what we're saying. The show me isn't one size fits all, because it may be that actually not experiencing it, you have a rapid growth from it. It may be that when you let go of the attachment, then it happens. Like when you don't care anymore if you have your partner or not, you meet your partner. And sometimes it is about you stepping into your creator being self and making a command or a demand that this actualizes, this physicalizes, this happens. You each, and we say this lovingly, underestimate the power and potency that you have by being physicalized, by being in the physical form. So another example of this is when COVID happened in 2020, Danielle made a definite decision to be physically and financially well. She just chose it. It was a command, a demand, a stand that she was choosing to be in vibrant health and in vibrant wealth. And 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 those kind of definitive decisions aren't something that we can teach you or coax you into. Yeah, you have those moments where you make the decision. And so that's when we're saying the show me isn't one size fits all, because it's absolutely appropriate. And in one instance is having you tap into, "Oh, this is happening. Like, show me." Or not an ultimatum, like this, I'm the command, I'm the stand, I'm the definite decision that this is going to be created. And so those, when we talk about the frustration in the field and the show me, there are three types that we're noticing. One may be that you haven't created something because it's having you tap into a greater growth spurt. The other is that there needs to be that letting go of attachment for it to come in. And the third is that you're actually in that show me to be in your creator being self. So those are the two opening energetic group readings that we have to share. And in terms of the highest contribution, well, before we go into that, let's pause here and see, Loren, if you have any reflections or deepening into what we shared thus far.
It sounds absolutely wonderful and it resonates so deeply. I'm certain it resonates with all of us. And we want to be in that command mode as a creator being to command wealth and command health, vibrant wealth and vibrant health. So thank you. So stepping into the command mode, anything else you wanted to share on that? And then we can go into the highest contribution, but how would one command it? Tuning into guides or tuning into our creator beingness? Is there any more you can offer on how we do that?
Yeah, so we have like a little bit of a context here, uh, which is that you each have your divine plan that you incarnated with, that you chose and co-created with Source before coming into this incarnation, and your unique divine design, and your full chart also gives information about that divine plan. What's your genius? What's your vision? What's your mission? What are your keys to abundance? And and sometimes something doesn't actualize because it's not directly tied to your divine plan. So let's say that in a little bit more of a clear way. Uh, you may have been desiring something because that was what you were conditioned to think that you wanted. And and so really step one is is being in that space of choosing what is most aligned for you, what matters most to you in this incarnation, and is in alignment with your divine plan. And that in and of itself can be an energy saver. It can be so much more efficient in your energy stream. And so in the context of your divine plan, there there uh there can be this how to say this inner navigation system, to this inner discernment of when to say yes and when to say no. And if we were to ask each of you for those moments where you really sense were pivotal moments, that there was something inside of you that vibrationally recognized that it was a yes. Like you're tuning in here, you vibrationally recognize that being here is a yes. There's something here for you that's a yes. And those no's are equally important. Those no's are equally important. So in 2002, when Danielle had like full body yes to go to Egypt, it was just yes. Like she knew it was a part of her divine plan, even though she didn't know where the money would come from or uh, all of that. She just knew it was a yes. And then she took physical action as well. And so at that time, there was like, and she just said everyone that paid her in cash was when she was working in person. She put in this little wooden box, and individuals who've been paying her by check all of a sudden started paying by cash. And so it's important as well to take that physical action. So we wanted to talk about divine plan. And then when you ask the question, the energetic is also remembering that there is a deep level of reconciliation of the falls of Atlantis and Lemuria and higher civilization times, because adept light workers, you've been on all sides. You've we don't want to say it like that. You've explored the absence and the presence of of uh, of magic or of connection or of source, of light, of dark. It's how you also develop, and sometimes choosing to be a part of a fall of a civilization for the larger evolution in consciousness, as painful as that may be. There's also a recognition of being willing to play that role at a certain time. So for some of you, we sense that that's the hesitation to be in the command seat, to be in the demand seat, is that when I had that much potency before, bad things happen. Individuals that I loved uh, died, or I was ostracized, or I was killed, or the witch wound, or all those kinds of things. And we don't mean to minimize it. And yet there is a certain inner work that has to happen to be in that command state, to not downplay the power and the potency, and to not overplay the power and the potency. And so that's a sweet spot, right? There's some individuals that maybe they seem to have a lot of confidence or they seem to have a lot of power, and yet you notice there's just something off about them. And others who may be having more of that quiet power that you sense, oh yeah, they're really tapped into that power and that potency. So embracing your divine plan and doing the inner work to transcend any of that fear of power and potency can be two really essential aspects of being in the creator seat and being in the command seat, and also to be completing the disappointment of not that frustration we spoke about, of you've done all the things, you've done all the journaling, you've done all the meditations, you've done the action, and it hasn't happened. And so that learned helplessness, like that's also what we're noticing in the field, is that some of you have stopped dreaming because it seems safer or less painful than going for what it is that you desire and being disappointed when it doesn't happen. So we'd invite you to open up to dream again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dream big, and limitless. And then this will assist us in making our highest contribution. Share more on this, please.
Yeah, so when we speak about highest contribution, it's simultaneously who you're being and what it is that you're doing. Like when we speak about mission and purpose and highest contribution or the divine service, the divine contribution, there can be so much of a focus on doing. What's your career path? How is it that you're volunteering? What is it that you're helping other individuals with? And so we really want to highlight your highest contribution can be who you're being. And one of the greatest gifts that you can give to yourself and to the elevation and consciousness and to the Earth Star and beyond is your own inner work. It makes all the difference. And we know that that can be overlooked. It can seem like other individuals don't understand it, why you might want to spend your weekends and your savings and your time and your energy on your personal development, on your spiritual development. And yet every now moment that you're in the absence of friction, there's a huge contribution. So we really want to highlight your being state as well as your doing state, and that you can be being your highest contribution, whether you're at work or you're in what you might call your personal life. And it is such a time of vibrational leadership, energetic leadership. And so mastering your energy can be such a key aspect to your highest contribution. And again, as we're very much tapped into the group field here, sometimes the highest contribution can be exactly what you are doing and being right now, which is receiving, especially for those of you who are so used to giving and perhaps even being on the side of over responsibility, that one of the biggest contributions that you can be making is to receive. You are being of highest contribution to us, to Danielle, by receiving this energy, by receiving the teachings on this network, by receiving from the trees. And so we know that as you have a part in the elevation in consciousness, there can be a focus on contributing and giving. And so we wanted to widen the definition of highest contribution. It's your being state, it's your doing state. And receiving from others, including guides, is a dynamic aspect of your highest contribution. The last thing we want to say about it is too that sometimes for those of you who may feel frustrated that you can't channel or that you don't see things or that you don't hear your guides or that you see somebody creating abundance or they're with their partner or some form of comparison, that sometimes you may not have a gift because it's actually less adept than the one that you have. And going back to that first group reading that we did of some kind of restlessness in some of you that you've been up to what you've been doing for so long, and there can be that like, oh, is there really anything else that I can get from keeping to do this? That there's a similar energy of that when it comes to uh, going from a zone of excellence into a zone of genius into a zone of ascended mastery. And so sometimes it is time to let go of the the zone of excellence or what you're good at, or it's time to alchemize it into that word highest, the ascended mastery, the highest contribution. And that can feel very vulnerable. It can feel very safe to share what you're good at or what individuals want, and yet to really be sharing that highest level, it can bring up, am I going to be all alone on the leading wave? Will anybody be there? Will my friends think I'm crazy? Those kinds of things. And so we're also inviting you not in a way that you're trying to be more than who it is that you are, yet to have it be a natural, organic evolution into your highest contribution. And sometimes it's a willingness to stop something. Like Danielle was a Kundalini yoga teacher and had a strong following, and she liked it and she was good at it. And yet she just got to stop like that, to let it go, to create space for a greater ascended mastery, a greater way that she could contribute.
So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The Council of Light, the Council of Love, and Thoth. Thank you. Thank you. Powerful message. And we're feeling the vibration and we're feeling such love, empowerment. Thank you.
Yes, and as we're starting to step aside, just inviting you each to integrate what's yours to be and do and have from this transmission, nothing more, nothing less. And we are acknowledging your contribution to the evolution in consciousness. All is light and love, and we are all. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so Danielle slowly coming back here. I love that command demand part. That was potent.
Everything resonates so deeply. I want to say one more time, our vibration has shifted. Like we're feeling so good. I hope everyone is feeling so good. And this is the importance. We can sense how unique we are, how each of us are so unique, and yet we're ready. I know so many are ready, if not all, watching this. So again, I want to thank the Council of Light, Council of Love, Thoth, and wow, everyone for receiving this. That receiving part was huge today. And I'm just basking in that frequency. So again, thank you, Danielle. All right. So we have a beautiful opportunity for people to work with you and to go really deep in this. What we did here today was powerful in just the time that we were here. You've got something more. And I want to direct everyone to the link in the description box or on the webpage that got you here. There is a beautiful offering for the highest contribution activation. So share with us what this entails because we are looking forward to it. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, so the highest contribution activation, I'm really excited about this because for since 2016, we've been working with the Divine Design chart and our Divine Light Activation program and the highest contribution is like a way to tap into that in an accessible way and to have the reading of your full chart. So that includes the divine design type that we went into here today, a couple of examples of that, the 1 and the 3, and yet it includes the full chart, including your highest contribution, your genius, your vision, your mission, your key to abundance, and really having access to the unique wiring so that you can decode your divine design and really be in your highest contribution. And so that includes not only like a written version of your chart and each of the positions in your chart, but it also has a channel message to help embody the chart. And I really look at it or feel it like our own solar system, that we're surrounded by those nourishing energies that really support us to be in alignment with our unique strengths and our divine plan. And so the highest contribution activation includes your full unique divine design chart. And then it also includes the visionary heart activation. And we did talk about number one, the visionary heart. And it's still one of my all-time favorites of all the activations and transmissions that the guides have brought forward because it does really help us move out of that power over, power under into co-creation, being the creator being, and activating the vision that we have in our heart and being able to access that inner guidance system to have clarity on next steps and to partner with our interdimensional guides from that place of real partnership and not deferring power or not fully showing up. So I love the visionary heart activation and includes instant access to that, as well as a 24-hour energy vortex for your highest vision. And that really helps with what the guides were saying, like sometimes you may be settling for less or not dreaming the full dream, but to be able to have access to that. And that's really, one of the guides and my highest contributions are those energy vortexes, creating those energetic environments, uh, so that you have the nourishment and the support to anchor and integrate the new state of being. Because sometimes we can have a shift, but we don't fully embody it. So that's also personalized energy vortex, that remote energy vortex that's included. And then super excited about this. We've added this in, that it also includes a bonus group live session with the guides and myself, where it's like an ascended master play date and they go into some of the greatest teachings that they brought over the years, especially from the books and the card deck. And then also they channel new teachings for the group and really having that opportunity to be live together, to be in community, because that's so important when we're on our path of evolution and consciousness. And so, yeah, I really love this bundle that we've created that includes the full chart, the visionary heart activation, the personalized energy vortex, and the live group call.
Highly supportive. Wow, exciting. And these are tools that will really advance one on their path so that we can be that highest contribution. It sounds really wonderful. Thank you again. Now, the personalized energy vortex. What do people have to do for that? Can you kind of explain more on, do people give you a question, or are you opening something up multidimensionally for them? What happens there?
Yeah, so the remote energy vortex happens in the higher planes where the guides and I partner with your higher self to co-create this energy vortex. So, especially for those of us that are high achievers and love to do stuff, like there's not a lot to do. It's really about that receiving. And we do also include an audio about like how to get the most out of your energy vortex. So sometimes individuals will write down an intention that they have, but it's done remotely, and that is such a big part, I feel like, of the new earth, of recognizing that we don't need a scheduled
Right.
always, right, to be interacting live, that we're connected in those higher planes, and that it's really that beautiful energy vortex or package that the guides and I set up with your higher self, and then send it so people can be as active or as receptive as they want to be. I know some folks are like, I've got to do something for this energy vortex, so they might write down a question or set an alarm for when it starts, and kind of pay special attention to that 24 hours after.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a 24-hour vortex that you're creating, but if people want to go back into it, it's always there. Is that right?
Yeah, in the sense of there's always that multidimensional now.
Yes, yes, okay. Very cool. All right. Well, again, I want to direct our viewers and listeners to that link for it. If those need assistance, there is a two-payment plan, and we hope that makes it easy for you to participate in this program with Danielle and the guides. Really beautiful. We are ready and we are excited to step into this new role of embodying this mastery, or actually unlocking our ascended masteries. Thank you, Danielle. This is beautiful. So, as we say goodbye, I want to give you a moment for final thoughts.
Hmm. Yeah, and what's coming to me is really the invitation to stay the course and to recognize when we're in an ascension aspect or a descension aspect of the spiral, uh, that it may be time to be leaning into more of that ascension, and we may be in a cycle of embodying, and then it's all part of the awakening process.
Thank you. So beautiful. All right. So, we be gentle with ourselves as we are on this journey of ascension and descension. Thank you, Danielle, Rama Hoffman. Beautiful words today from your guides. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.